Entertain a packed house with my new Electrolux appliances. Now I can cook the roast for the dinner party and the mac and cheese for the sleepover. Simmer the chocolate sauce, toss Jack toy, serve the gummy bears, then the apple juice at the perfect temperature, be the charming co-host, clean the stemware perfectly, and end the night looking for monsters under the bed. Introducing Electrolux with wave touch controls and an induction hybrid cooktop that boils water in 90 seconds. You can be even more amazing.
I met up with Washington Examiner columnist and TV pundit LaShawn Barber, my conservative La Friend.
Women are the weaker sex. A leader should radiate confidence, manly confidence. Women have a very nurturing quality, but I don't really want a nurturing leader.
By nurture, I assume you mean to take care of people.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that either.
I want someone commanding, forthright. Men just seem to embody these qualities more.
Yes! Hey, let's order a pizza. Make it a thing for us.
Hello?
Yeah, we'd like a large thin crust pizza.
Brown?
Chop, chop!
Look at our three manly men. Perry gets his chest waxed. Keith loves tinnet throw pillows. Turk might be sterile. We have a winner. I can't get pregnant and I already got a fertility test. So why don't you just ask him to get tested? Oh, Turk is very sensitive when it comes to his manliness. Remember when I told him his backpack looked like a purse? Turk, honey, I didn't mean it.
I am a man! And a man does not carry a purse!
Yeah.
Now there's a place
Come on in.
where her dreams have room to grow.
It's time to sleep now.
The Rose Petal Cottage.
Try my muffin, it's really yummy.
A place of her very own where she can decorate.
This can go here. This goes here.
Entertain her imagination.
Let's do laundry.
And a special friend or two.
Ta-da!
I love what you've done with the place. The Rose Petal Cottage. It's her place where her dreams have room to grow.
I used to think it didn't matter what deodorant I chose. Dumb. This test shows that Old Spice is the right choice. Old Spice performs in real man situations like basketball, recon, and Frenching. Try Old Spice, and if you still don't think it's awesome, call 1-800-PROVE-IT, and they'll buy you a stick of something that smells like wildflowers and shame. Take the Old Spice challenge. I did.
Mr. Burgundy, I'm a professional, and I would like to be able to do my job.
Well, big deal. I am very professional.
Mr. Burgundy, you are acting like a baby.
I'm not a baby. I am a man. I am an anchor man.
You are not a man. You are a big fat joke.
I'm a man who discovered the wheel and built the Eiffel Tower out of metal and brawn. That's what kind of man I am. You're just a woman with a small brain. With a brain a third the size of us. It's science.
Depending on how you drive and your car's condition, you can get incredible mileage from the Goodyear Custom Wide Tread Polyglass tire.
I've got 32,000 miles on my tires.
I've got 41,000 miles on my Polyglass.
But Polyglass means more than mileage when your wife has to drive alone. When a woman's at the wheel, Polyglass means more than mileage.
up our gear and we're out of here. It's time for a truck, 'cause when we're up our wheeling, it's the greatest feeling in a time for a truck.
The new Ford F-150 truck with monster traction, only from Power Wheels. Adult supervision required, each sold separately.
I come from a land, from a faraway place, where the caravan camels grow, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. When the wind's from the east, and the sun's from the west, and the sand in the glass is right, come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet and fly to another Arabian night. Arabian nights, like Arabian days, more often than not, are hotter than hot in a lot of good ways.
Buenas noches, señor gato. My name is Slowpoke Rodriguez. Is this where lives it, my cousin, Senor Speedy Gonzalez?
Slowpoke? Yeah, sure. Come right in.
Porque no tiene, porque...
Only the fastest mouse can make it, which is me. Not the slowest mouse, which is you.
I'm hungry.
Okay, I get it for you. Andre, arriba!
We are Siamese, if you please. We are Siamese, if you don't please. Now we're looking over our new domicile.
A prejudice, sometimes called discrimination too, is any negative and unreasonable statement in opposition to someone else because of their differences, whether physical appearances, religious beliefs, age, gender, and any other subject to judge. On our daily lives, we have to choose. We must select what we like the most, what we believe is better, or what is more important to us, putting the rest aside. Still, sometimes we make these decisions selfishly or show disrespect for the rest. These choices can have negative outcomes like implanting fear, inserting feelings of inferiority, exclusion, or even denial of human rights. Actually, prejudice can become a real issue when it attacks people who can't change their color, disability, gender, and sexuality, social class, or age. These types of prejudice are respectively called racism, ableism, sexism, elitism, and ageism. Another type of prejudice, most common in schools today, is called bullying. Bullying is when somebody intentionally hurts someone else. It may be through psychological harassment, for example through words, and or physical harassment through pounding. Manipulation is also a type of bullying. It's usually done by inserting fear and creating a feeling of threat. Bullying usually happens when somebody abuses another person, knowing that this person is in physical or social inferiority, and they can easily take advantage of this.
You found that the racial makeup of a school can have a profound effect. How so?
It really can, because it gives children opportunities for having contact with other kids and potentially making friends. And we find that it really makes a big difference for kids in thinking about who they're going to play with and who they're going to be friends with.
So, I mean, if you're a white parent whose child goes to a majority white school, this study gives you a lot to worry about. What do you say to a parent who's concerned?
Well, we hope it gives them a lot to think about and thinking about how they're exposing their children to people of different races and ethnicities. And you can think about the level of community. So maybe your school isn't diverse, but the larger district you live in is more diverse. And maybe there's an opportunity to have your children encounter other kids, or if not that, then to use other kinds of media, whether it's books or televisions. But to think about the whole issue of exposing your other children from different racial backgrounds.
Soledad, for you, what was one of the big takeaways of this?
I think it's pretty fascinating how kids as young as 6, and we think of 6 as pretty young kid, are very articulate and really understand the nuance of differences in race. I mean, they were really talking very specifically about what they thought either their parents may or may not like, and I was surprised at kind of the high-level conversation. You look over and the kid is 6 years old, but I do think what it sends as a message to parents is, if you're in a majority white school, you know, that's it, that's the school you're in, but there are many other opportunities to reach out and have your kid just meet other kids, and if you're not doing that, then you're really limiting your kids' opportunities in a lot of ways.
And I mean, you found that young African-American kids are a lot more optimistic than white kids.
Yeah, what was really interesting about the study was that the young African-American kids are just much more positive about the potential for friendship. When they're looking at a picture card of a white child and a black child and you ask them, well, can these two be friends? They're much more likely to say, in fact, the majority of them would say, yeah, they can be friends. Whereas we found a different finding for the white kids, much less likely to say that they could be friends. So it really makes you think about why is that and what goes into that.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with children's exposure and contact, and also the messages they get from all over. I mean, you're going to get messages from the broader community and the media, and that have a lot of stereotypes and negative stereotypes often. And it's really parents' job to, in a way, challenge that for children and to sort of counter it. And doing it through all those sort of daily interactions, the conversations you have with children about who you're going to play with, who you're going to stand with and know at the bus stop. And so it's the everyday interactions that are really important.
I think it's a matter of a minority, a black child who's in a white school is going to have to be friends with people who look different than they do. A white child in a white school doesn't necessarily have to get to know kids who are different than themselves. And I think a lot of it is just in the effort extended to understand and get to know people.
And I think what Soledad said earlier is so fundamental and important, that these kids talk about it early. I mean, at 6 years of age, they're talking about race.
And are aware of it.
An Asian couple move on to an estate in Britain. This is how they're welcomed.
Oh, get back to your country,
My country.
Got a brick in the head now.
No. Is Britain as tolerant as it likes to think it is? What?
This isn't a unique picture at all. It's happening in similar comparable estates all over the country.
That was Satan. I just didn't think that you would be like that.
Tonight's film will be an eye-opener for anyone who thinks the sting has gone out of racism in Britain, and will strike a chord with anybody who's been bullied or suffered antisocial behaviour where they live, whatever the colour of their skin. As the far right edges into the political mainstream, with the BNP appearing on Question Time later this week, this is a good moment to experience what it's like to be singled out because of your race, to be on the receiving end of the P word and worse.
My name's Tamana Robin, and I'm living undercover to investigate the truth about racism in Britain.
While I'm making this programme, the BNP wins 2 seats in the European Parliament. And in Belfast, several Romanian families are forced from their homes by racist violence. Yet 6 months earlier, race relations in Britain are given a clean bill of health by the head of the government's equality watchdog.
We are a country where attitudes between individuals are really much better than anywhere else in Europe. You know, if you ask people in this country if they mind having somebody of a different ethnicity as a neighbour, it's really not an issue.
I was born in Manchester and grew up confident that neither my colour nor my religion would be held against me. But my experience is not shared by many other black and ethnic minority people, according to a charity called SARI, which handles around 350 cases of racism and racist violence a year.
And here's some examples of some of the cases we've been dealing with over the last few months. Here's one with eggs being thrown at them, water bombs being thrown at the property by local youths, racial verbal abuse, being threatened with a knife, stones thrown at the victim when they got out of the bus, things being thrown at the shop window, so takeaway, threats to kill, an air gun being fired, racial verbal abuse, arson, threats, criminal damage, car vandalism.
SARI is based in Bristol. From its waterfront bars and cafes, it's hard to imagine the city today as a hotbed of racial strife. But just a few miles outside the city centre, there's a housing estate, which according to SARI reveals the ugly reality of racism in this country.
Racial verbal abuse, being spat at, nuisance knocking, rubbish nuisance, and death threats.
Where is that?
This is all in Southmead.
The Southmead estate was built in the 1930s and extended 20 years later. It's mainly white and working class. In recent years, more black and Asian people have moved in, and I'm going to be one of them. I want to investigate on the ground. The only way to do that is to live there undercover. I moved to the estate at the beginning of June with fellow reporter Armal Khan, who's going to pretend to be my husband. My family's originally from Bangladesh. His from Pakistan. We're both British Muslims. We've hidden secret cameras in the house we're renting and in our clothes. We arrive at our new home to find the British National Party has been canvassing for support in the European elections. During our stay, we see no other signs that they're active here. While I perfect my cover story as a housewife who speaks very little English, Armal makes out he's working as a part-time painter and decorator. We're going to appear as unsure of ourselves as any couple would who are new to the area.
It's 8 o'clock on Monday, the 8th of June. The headlines. The far-right BNP has gained its first 2 MEPs.
There's a huge amount of racism in this country. Overwhelmingly, it's directed against the indigenous British majority, which is one reason that we've done so well in these elections.
Later that day, I go shopping on the estates by myself for the first time.
I was carrying 2 very heavy bags and looking quite downcast. I walked past them and they didn't say anything, and then suddenly I heard a little scuffling sound and looked down, and basically a rock had just landed about a foot away from me, a rock about the size of my fist, which is actually quite big.
Where is this guy? Terry, right?
He is looking for a dynamic new employee.
No, he's not here.
And she is more than qualified for the job.
Hi, I'm Terry. I'm here for the interview. Nice to meet you.
You're Terry.
Yes.
Problem is, she isn't a he.
You do have a great resume, but I gotta have a man.
It's gender discrimination, and she doesn't want to take it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Terry.
Terry.
I'm here for the interview. Nice to meet you.
Hi. This woman, Cookie, is sitting right next to our actors. But don't let that name fool you.
I don't need any secretaries or assistants. I'm looking, for a sales manager.
Cookie and her daughter-in-law-to-be are shocked.
I see you got a ring there. How serious is your relationship?
I'm engaged.
Right.
I'm interviewing for a position.
But you're not married.
To date you.
You're not married, though. Okay.
So that will make a difference in me getting hired?
No, I'm not gonna hire you. I mean, I can't. But if you want to have a few drinks, that'd be great.
Oh,
Came all the way out here. So,
eat him alive, this guy.
Cookie's eyes are rolling as our businessman steps outside for a second.
I feel bad for you. What a jerk. He wants to date you, but he won't. I wasn't eavesdropping, but he's an idiot, this guy.
What am I supposed to say to that? I really need the job.
He's not going to hire you. You're not a man. And that's why the conditions of this country are the way they are. Because men want it and women don't.
Now Jeremy returns to face Cookie.
Where'd she go? She had a great resume. Well, I'd go out with her. I don't.
Oh, yeah, of course. Go out with her. Qualifications don't mean a damn thing. You just take her out, jump from bed, and run out of the end of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny. I think you're a despicable person.
Hey, I'm sorry you feel that way. Can I buy your breakfast?
Absolutely. I don't need any man to buy my breakfast.
Again. And now these women don't know they're sitting right next to a male chauvinist.
That's so funny. I was sort of expecting a man.
The women can sense right away that this interview is not off to a great start.
I see you're engaged.
Yes.
You're gonna be planning a wedding. Then after that, how long is it going to be before you're pregnant?
The women are stunned. We tell our businessman to take a call.
We insulted.
Can you pardon me for a second? Hello? Yeah. No, it's it's a girl. It's a little girl.
And the second he's gone.
Is everything okay? Just like, you didn't want to see or anything.
Professions like medicine, journalism and the law are still a closed shop to people from poorer backgrounds. That's according to Alan Milburn, a health secretary in the Labour government who's now written a report for the Conservative-led coalition. He's found that the glass ceiling has been scratched but not yet broken. Our social affairs editor Jackie Long has been talking to those trying to break into a professional world that seems set on keeping them out.
Students of today, but will they be the lawyers, doctors and politicians of tomorrow? According to the report, where they end up still depends too heavily on where they've come from. Shane Cato has already broken the mould. The son of an unemployed carpenter from a tough part of London, he's now studying economics at one of the best universities in the country. But he says it's been a long struggle, often without much help.
But everyone had the idea that they wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor, but none of them really knew how to do it. When I was at school, the university that I visited while I was at school, saying that to get into higher education, it was a bottom 20 university, whereas opposed to people in other schools, they're visiting Oxford, the Cambridges. We're told, aim for the bottom 10, bottom 20. That's the highest we can achieve, and they don't really show us what we can potentially get, where we could potentially go to in the future.
The report says the professions remain dominated overwhelmingly by the privileged. In medicine, for example, just 7% of medical students are from disadvantaged backgrounds, while the majority, 57%, come from the wealthiest groups. In the law, of all the judges in the High Court, 94% went to private schools and 93% went to Oxbridge. Journalism is becoming more elitist. The report says a third of top journalists went to Oxbridge, while more than half are privately educated.
Overall, the glass ceiling might have been scratched, but it certainly hasn't been broken. At the top especially, there's a default setting which sees the professions recruiting from far too narrow a part of the social spectrum. That's bad for the professions, but it's also bad for any prospects of social mobility in our country.
Here's the latest type of secretary. Not the man nor the girl, but the thing on wheels.
We may not think the 1950s were particularly enlightened, but according to Alan Milburn, it was a golden age of social mobility. Society has that chance again, he says. More than 80% of new jobs in the next decade will be in the professions, but they must open up to people from poorer backgrounds.
That the gilded towers of professions like the law are still the preserve of society's elite is no surprise. The big question is what to do about it. Alan Milburn said today he's not in favour of legislation. Instead, he wants to shine a light on the situation and rely on the virtue of human decency to make things better. For some, that may not be enough.
The report concedes the legal world is trying to become more open, but as with other professions, there's still a long way to go. And key are internship programs which are transparent and fair, because for students like Shane, getting to a good university is only the first hurdle.
Now that you're at university, I mean, do you feel for you that the playing field's been levelled at all?
I believe it's been levelled in a sense of academic achievement. They know that I can achieve the same as my peers. However, I feel that there's still an element of who you know as opposed to what you know.
Changing the face of British professions means convincing those at the top to choose people who aren't just like them. And as today's report shows, that's clearly not easy.
Just so depressed, I just can't seem to get out this slump. If I could just get over this hump, but I need something to pull me out this dump. I took my bruises, took my lumps, fell down and I got right back up. But I need that spark to get psyched back up in order for me to pick the mic back up. I don't know how or why or when I ended up in this position I'm in. I'm starting to feel distant again, so I decided just to pick this pen up and try to make an attempt to vent. But I just can't admit or come to grips with the fact that I may be done with rap. I need a new outlet, and I know some so hard to swallow, but I just can't sit back and wallow in my own sorrow. But I know one fact, I'll be one tough act to follow. One tough act to follow. I'll be one tough act to follow. Here today, gone tomorrow, but you'd have to walk 1,000 miles in my shoes just to see what it's like to be me. I'll be you, like straight shoes, just to see what it'd be like to feel your pain, you feel mine. Go inside each other's minds just to see what we find. Look through each other's eyes, but don't let them say you ain't beautiful. They can all get, just stay true to you. So don't let them say you ain't beautiful. They can all get, just stay true to you. I think I'm starting to lose my sense of humor. Everything's so tense and gloom. I almost feel like I gotta check the temperature of the room just as soon as I walk in. It's like all eyes on me, so I try to avoid any eye contact. Cause if I do that, then it opens the door for conversation like I want that. I'm not looking for extra attention, I just wanna be just like you. Blend in with the rest of the room, maybe just point me to the closest restroom. I don't need no manservant trying to follow me around and wipe my laugh at every single joke I crack, and half of them ain't even funny like that. Marshall, you're so funny, man, you should be a comedian, damn. Unfortunately, I am. I just hide behind the tears of a clown. So why don't you all sit down, listen to the tale I'm about to tell. Hell, we don't gotta trade our shoes, and you ain't gotta walk no 1,000 miles in my shoes just to see what it's like to be me. I'll be you, like straight shoes, just to see what it'd be like to feel your pain, you feel mine. Go inside each other's minds just to see what we find. Looking through each other's eyes, but don't let them say you ain't beautiful. They can all get, just stay true to you. So don't let them say you ain't beautiful. They can all get, just stay true to you. Nobody asked for life to deal us with these bull hands with doubt.
Rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep.
that let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever alone this word, but that was when I ruled the world. Hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Well, you done me and you bet I felt it. I tried to beat you, but you're so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back. Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. I reckon it's again my turn to win.
Genocide is the systematic mass killing of a particular group of unarmed people. Genocide terrorizes the innocent and causes suffering for all those involved, including bystanders. Genocide attempts to wipe out or exterminate a group of people due to differences in race, culture, social status, gender, and religion. We will never truly know why genocides are committed. It is impossible to get inside the mind of a killer, let alone find logic behind these crimes. I will never understand how someone could kill an innocent man, woman, or child, let alone try to end their race. There will never be an acceptable reason for genocide.
Driving away from the wreck of the day, and the lights always red in the rear view. Desperately close to a coffin of hope, I'd cheat destiny just to be near you. And if this is giving up, then I'm giving up. If this is giving up, then I'm giving up, giving up on love, on love. Driving away from the wreck of the day, and I'm thinking about calling on Jesus. Love doesn't hurt, so I know I'm not falling in love, I'm just falling to pieces. And if this is giving up, then I'm giving up. If this is giving up, then I'm giving up, giving up on child is left behind. We're not dumb and we're not blind. They're all sitting in your cells while you pave a road to hell. What kind of father would take his own daughter's rights away? And what kind of father might hate his own daughter if she were gay? I can only imagine what the First Lady has to say. You've come a long way.
What's wrong with you? You're such an idiot. You're really ugly. You're fat. You're really ugly.
I don't want to be friends with you, because you're too bad.
You weirdo. You're a nerd. You're ugly. Nobody likes you.
You're so fat. You're so big, man.
You're a piece of garbage.
I hate you. You suck. You look like crap.
I hate your freaking guts. You're a loser. Go die in a hole. You're the stupidest person I know. Why would I want to hang out with you?
You look ugly.
Why are you wearing something like that? Don't you realize it looks so ugly on you?
You're fat.
You're so gay. You're weird.
You're an ugly hag.
You suck. You're such a loser. No one likes you.
What are you wearing? It looks like crap.
God, you're such a whore. Your face is ugly.
You're a slut.
You're so stupid. Nobody likes you. Why even here? You should just go to another school because nobody wants you here. Nobody likes you.
You've got 10,000 people shouting racist abuse or calling, you know, throwing bananas on the pitch or monkey chants.
I didn't feel it was part of the job, no. It's not what I signed up for.
The black thing never came into my head one bit. It was about being a professional footballer.
There were some insulting things that were said and things that were done, but you have to put that in the back of your mind, be strong, and just go and do what you have to do. Because like I always tell people, the soccer ball doesn't care what color you are.
It was one team for one season with 3 special players.
We were the first team in the top flight to play 3 black players on a consistent basis. But also we were a very good team with some excellent individuals.
They were West Bromwich Albion's triple threat, and manager Ron Atkinson had the perfect nickname for them.
For those who don't know, Ronnie is not the shyest of persons, great self-publicist. One of the top female groups around was a group called the 3 Degrees, and we got nicknamed the 3 Degrees. To this day, people still refer to us as the 3 Degrees.
Each player with his own style. The striker, Cyril Regis.
Cyril was just a breath of fresh air. Some of the things you saw him do, he'd taken all the stuff he'd learned from non-league and really just did exactly the same thing in the top flight.
The defender, Brendan Batson.
Brendan was, he played for Arsenal, quite older than us, but he was part of a really good back four at West Brom, a great defender, a very knowledgeable, intelligent defender.
And the winger, Laurie Cunningham.
Laurie was great on the eye. Most players, black players, the second generation, would cite Laurie as their role model, purely because, you know, he had the style, he had the pace, he had the grace, and he had the flair, which captivates everybody's hearts.
We used to get in early for training and leave late because you didn't want to leave. The banter in the dressing room was terrific, albeit we didn't win anything, but it was a joy week in, week out to play in such an exciting side.
The West Brom fans were fantastic. They took to us fantastically, supported us, appreciated us. But at the end of the day, they want anybody out there to play football, and we played football well in, I would say, a very, very good side at West Brom in the late 70s.
As the 3 Degrees found their place in football, the National Front, a far-right political party opposed to immigration, was recruiting among the skinhead gangs that followed many of the top clubs.
The atmosphere was intimidating. Football and sport should be a pleasure, and it had stopped becoming a pleasure. It was intimidating. It was almost like gang warfare. There was trouble on the streets, there was trouble at the grounds. It was that, like a pack at times of wild dogs. It wasn't what football or sport should be about.
Obviously, coming from the 70s, it was after the winter of discontent, and there's still like racial tensions around about, you know, the foreigners coming to our country and having our jobs. And to see three black lads playing football, it was an easy target for those ideas to come to fore.
People have said to me that as black players started to come to the fore in the early 70s in numbers, that was almost an opportunity for the National Front to come out and vent their fury at black players, because they're within a stadium, they have the cloak of anonymity in terms of their numbers, and they could say what they want. The football authorities did nothing about it. So for the black players coming through, and particularly when I was at West Brom with Laurie Sherman and myself, we seemed to get the brunt of it because there were 3 of us. And I mean, the volume was quite astonishing at times. It was a bit of a shock to me, having come from Cambridge, to suddenly come and have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 within a stadium, and a significant minority really drowning out anything else, and you could hear all the racist chanting. It wasn't pleasant.
You got 10,000 people shouting racist abuse, or calling, you know, throwing bananas on the pitch, or monkey chants, or all sorts of things. Of course you are aware of it.
When I was at Cambridge, in actual fact, and we were playing Bradford away, and just happens that day there was a National Front rally up there. I didn't know. It isn't something I would follow, obviously, but we were playing Bradford, and I was getting a lot of stick from the crowd. And because it's sparse, sometimes you can actually see the person who's actually giving you the abuse. And as the ball was being thrown back to me from the crowd, I could pick this bloke out, called me all the names under the sun. And I think I had, you could almost call it Eric Cantona moment, where I was going to just throw the ball into his face if I could. And I think I was in the process of doing it when I just felt a hand on my arm, and his Scottish voice said, "Tell me, get on with the game, Brendan." And it was the assistant manager, John Dock. I think he spotted that I was about to do something a bit silly.
You go from 1 or 2 people calling you racist names, or walking down the streets, or seeing things, or having your own fight at school, to, you know, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people shouting "nigger, nigger, lick my boots." So we really stepped up another level, but we dealt with it. We dealt with it.
During the 1978-79 season, West Brom was near the top of the league. So, for the 3 Degrees, the best revenge was simply winning.
We were playing some very, very exciting football, and we were always in the top 3, basically, for most of that season. And really, we can stick our fingers up to those you know, spectators who were delighting in calling us all the names under the sun, and we were really pleased that we could go to their grounds, you know, particularly away from home, and show them what we were about and taking the points from them.
Our coping mechanism, and all of us was we internalised that anger. We said, right, how can we get back at you? We can only get back at you by the way you play football, so we used it as motivation. And I just used that as motivation to go out and play better.
It gave us a great deal of satisfaction that we could turn around and say, hang on a minute, we're good players, and we'll see you again. And by the way, we've beaten your team.
West Brom finished that season in 3rd place. Laurie Cunningham was sold to Real Madrid for £1 million, an astonishing sum in those days. Sadly, in 1989, the 3 Degrees lost one of their own when Cunningham was killed in a car crash.
I think they were the trailblazers, weren't they? I think they had to. They were together, but on their own. If you know what I mean, it was just them, and that was it. And so they had to keep strong together, and they really had to endure, you know, lots of racial abuse, and no doubt at times physical abuse because of their colour. They just showed that, yeah, we are black, we're proud, and we are going to be successful. And they were successful, and they showed it in that way.
Growing up, didn't see many black players. So when you don't see many black people in an industry, it's an industry that you feel might be cut off to. And it was only till I got a little bit older that, you know, I remember seeing the likes of the late Lloyd Cunningham, Sil Regis, Brendan Batson, and players like that playing, that made me think to myself, well, maybe there is something I could do as a career.
More than 20 years after black players began appearing for English clubs, after all of their sacrifices, the law was finally being mobilised to protect them. New laws were brought in to help prosecute racial assaults and abuse, and the 1991 Football Offences Act made racist chants at football games a criminal offence.
What became an irony is that while supporters accepted their own black players, they would have black players on the opposition teams, and so it has needed a long process of a combination of factors to improve matters, and that's the whole country appreciating that racism is wrong.
But England wouldn't stop there. The law wasn't enough. There was more to be done. Crowd chants, both racial and homophobic, descended on Portsmouth defender Sol Campbell. Then Portsmouth manager Harry Redknapp described it as filthy. Police publicly released suspect photos captured by the closed-circuit TV system to help find the guilty parties involved. In his court statement, Sol Campbell said he felt totally victimised and helpless. 11 people were eventually arrested. The Crown Prosecution Service said this was the first case of indecent chanting to be brought to the courts. All seems quiet outside of this stadium. And the eyes in the sky surrounding the grounds make sure it stays that way.
So here at the American Express Community Stadium, we've got a state-of-the-art CCTV system, really important. It gives us that facility that we can zoom in onto an area reported to us, and we can pinpoint that area.
Chris Baker is the safety officer for Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club.
As the safety officer for the club, I'm basically responsible for the whole of the match day operation, so that runs down to the stewarding, security, medical provision, and everything to do with the running of a successful event.
As one of the newest stadiums in the league, its closed-circuit television system is a prime example of how technology can be an essential tool for combating abusive behaviour.
We have 75 cameras spaced around the ground, and should any racist abuse be reported to us, we can very quickly potentially get 1, 2, maybe 3 cameras onto an area.
If you look to the left in the west stand raised high, there's a camera that looks perfectly down into my seat. If someone sat in this seat and chose to use racial behaviour, racial language, antisocial language, or even homophobic language, then the camera could zoom in closely on their face, and a lip reader could potentially use it in a court of law to prosecute them.
CCTV was implemented by clubs shortly after the Hillsborough disaster on April the 15th, 1989. During an FA Cup semi-final match between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, an overflow of fans were forced through a narrow tunnel, crushing people in the front of the stands. 96 people died, 766 injured. It's the deadliest stadium disaster in British history. An inquiry later determined that a failure of police control was partly responsible. But the disaster made people realise that stadiums needed to be safer.
Well, clubs had to act on it. The clubs had to buy into, they didn't have to, but they did buy into an anti-racism programme, particularly when Lord Justice Taylor, with his report on the Hillsborough disaster, recommended all-seater stadiums. So we began to have some of the real state-of-the-art stadiums, all-seaters, so it was much easier to identify culprits.
These people who delight in maybe chanting racist abuse of black players were almost cloaked in anonymity because of the crowd. But now they can report it, they can pinpoint the CCTV, can go in and have a look, and if they've got the evidence, they can take them to court and actually have a banning order imposed on them. So CCTV has done a fantastic job.
How are we looking? Not too bad.
In the control room at Brighton Albion, we can clearly see the footage taken during our tour with Baker. It's video like this that has been used as evidence in some crucial cases, which is why CCTV is mandatory at league clubs.
Regarding an arrest, it is down to the police. All we can do is gather as much evidence as we can. The CCTV footage can be very, very good evidence, as can the statements from the stewards, and if you can get statements from supporters who have witnessed it, it's all very good evidence and can lead us to a successful prosecution.
Okay, so what we'll do is firstly we'll mount the control lead onto the jacket.
And some stadiums are taking CCTV even further, giving their stewards head-mounted cameras.
Now, as you can see on the controller, so where we actually control the camera and how we actually record, initiate all the recordings and actually control the device itself.
Which can give clubs intimate access to incidents in the stadiums.
When you actually have a steward or a security officer wearing the camera, it captures a different perspective. You're actually able to see through the eyes of the person and experience what they've experienced on the day, rather than a perspective of a CCTV camera where you may not be able to get the full effect of what they actually experienced and how they actually dealt with that situation. And obviously, as you can imagine, it does help in capturing the full audio and full video to be used in court for evidential purposes.
Within the past 2 decades, the experience of a football match has transformed.
It's totally an unrecognisable operation now from, say, going to see a game in the early 80s. But we try and keep it low-key within the stadium and make it a warm and welcoming place to come. And this, we find, diffuses the atmosphere more than provokes anything.
Today, spectators and players can be fined, criminally charged and banned for using language that many players had endured for so long.
A person could be banned for 3 years from entering any football league ground. They also have to hand in their passport. They're not allowed to travel on the rail network when certain teams are playing. They're not allowed to travel out of the country when England are playing. And basically, it's a very strict measure.
These changes have been absolutely crucial in reviving the reputation of English football.
The game was in danger of being written off. The Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, was thinking of insisting that people needed an ID card to even go to a game. That's how serious it was. So it wasn't a question of football blaming government or government blaming football, which they tried to. It was a situation where everybody had to, you know, make an input.
We want, every football club wants their club to be well supported. They want to attract families. We don't want to lose the next generation of supporters, the youngsters coming along, because of these bigots that will be making comments. So I think by putting the cameras in, it spells out to those that are likely to misbehave that the clubs don't want it, we won't tolerate it, and it should also give confidence to families coming along that the clubs are doing everything within their power to eliminate this problem.
An inevitable clash between a forward and a defender. In the 58th minute, Liverpool's Uruguayan forward Luis Suarez tackles Manchester United defender Patrice Evra. 4 minutes later, Suarez and Evra are seen speaking animatedly. Evra complains to the referee that he's been racially abused by being called a negro, black, by Suarez, a word Suarez later says is used in a friendly way in Uruguay. On November the 16th, the Football Association charges Suarez with misconduct, investigating the incident with additional video footage, witness interviews and linguistic experts. On December the 21st, the FA announces Suarez is found guilty and will be penalised with an 8-match ban and a fine of £40,000. According to its report, Suarez used the word negro 7 times during the exchange with Evra. Suarez didn't appeal, but has maintained he didn't do anything wrong, saying, "In my country, negro is a word we use commonly, a word which doesn't show any lack of respect and is even less so a form of racist abuse. Based on this, everything which has been said so far is totally false." Just what amounts to racism, and how much does it still permeate football? The head of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, in a CNN interview last year, put it this way.
There is no racism. There is maybe one of the players towards the other, he has a word or a gesture which is not the correct one. But also the one who is affected by that, he should say, it's a game. We are in a game, and at the end of the game we shake hands. This can happen.
Blatter's comments caused a storm.
Everyone says in the heat of the moment, you have to blame it on the heat of the moment. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, that you can do an action or whatever, but on the racist and a beyond situation, that's not the heat of the moment. Why is that the first thing comes into your head in the heat of the moment? It's quite embarrassing. Yeah, you can do a rash tackle or whatever, but when you're actually abusing another player, racially and beyond, no, it doesn't wash with me, and there's no position in football, in sport, for that.
Blatter later said his comments were misunderstood and that he is committed to the fight against racism. But they revived the debate about just how much progress has been made.
It has certainly improved on the football field. It's improved in the stadiums. You don't hear as much abuse in the stadiums in this country, in the UK, as you used to. So that's improved. But unfortunately, in recent years, it's I have to say it's a conversation that we're having up too regular. I'm doing these kind of interviews quite a lot now, and it's starting to annoy me.
It would be naive to say it's been eradicated, because it's not, but as you get a civilised society, I hope that sport can play a leading role in making society more civilised.
Earl Barrett, a defender who started his career with Manchester City, played through years of abuse, an experience that he doesn't want anyone else to suffer through.
Of course, if a majority of them fans are racially abusing you or they're making monkey chants, it echoes around the stadium, and that's what happened to me. You know, the monkey chants, got on the ball, monkey chants around the stadium, just echoing around the stadium, and that really hurt me. And I decided not to say anything. I decided not to say, look, I want something done about this, because I thought I'd be thrown out of the game. But nevertheless, that shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't that shouldn't be happening now. Those of you who don't know, my name's Earl Barrett, from Kick It Out.
Barrett now volunteers with Kick It Out, an anti-discrimination campaign started in 1993.
It was a response to a wholesale problem in football, which was black players being abused by their white counterparts, both on the pitch and in the stands. And in the early 90s, a union of high-profile footballers, such as Garth Crooks, John Fashanu, Paul Elliott, with the backing of the union and a large number of the clubs, came together for a one-off awareness-raising campaign to say, this has been happening for years, and we don't want to take this anymore, we want to make a stand. And I think Kick It Out has contributed to that feeling of safety that players from across the world have playing in England.
The English Premier League is now the most watched in the world. But as the Suarez incident shows, cultural perceptions can muddy the waters.
In the case with Suarez from Liverpool, my thing is that when you're going to another country, you have to learn the culture, you have to learn the meanings, what do I use, and if I'm going to say things on the field and stuff like that. I mean, I played in Holland, played in all over different parts of the world, and what I would try to do is to not pick up the words that are going to offend people and pick up the words that are going to be good, so I can't feel sorry for him in that circumstances. My advice to him would be, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Even if the playing field looks more diverse, the manager's bench in English football does not.
We want football in this country to be played, managed, administered and watched by a cross-section of England. At the minute we don't have that. We've got no openly gay players, we've got 2 black managers from '92, very few Asian players and a lack of women at boardroom level. So there's an imbalance there, and I think the work that we do across the year with all the clubs and with all the agencies is to try and address that in some way.
We'd like to see more black and ethnic minorities in management positions, not just as a manager of a football club, but in manager of administration, IT, manager of catering. Anything that happens you know, outside the football industry happens inside the football industry. So, you know, black and ethnic minorities in those positions of leadership would work wonders.
But even that may never be enough.
Inherently, it's about the conditions of individuals' heart. There's nothing you can put all the laws around it, but if someone wants to do it from the initial ignorance or their own heart condition and the prejudices and attitudes, I don't think any law can stop it.
It was more than 40 years ago when Clyde Best made his journey to England to pursue a passion. To play a game he seems to barely recognise today.
I think what has happened is that they make so much money now, you know, a lot of them just seem to think that because they're making this money, you know, that's going to take care of everything that I do. Life's not that way, you know. You've got to learn to be humble, you've got to be respectful, you have to learn to behave yourself, because your money, you know, doesn't make you a man or make you a decent human being. You know, you have to practice the things that your parents taught you, you learned in school, your coaches telling you, and carry them things out. Those are the things that are going to make you a better person, not the amount of money that you have in your pocket.
And for Best, the magic of the game remains undimmed.
I think the most important thing to remember about soccer, with all the foolishness that is going on right now with the racism and stuff like that, the minute a goal is scored, I could be as black as the ace of spades, or I can be as white as a snowflake. The minute a goal is scored, everybody hugs one another. And as I said, the most important thing to remember, the ball doesn't care what color you are.
Smile and wonder at the global symphony that his journey has inspired. His fiddle was not silenced. The music that will be performed from your stage today will serve a purpose, for it will blend with the sounds of hundreds, perhaps thousands of other concerts from around the world, which will be ringing the earth with sanity and humanity each October. By dedicating your concert to Danny, you elevate your music from the acoustics of one hall to the balcony of the 21st century and transform it into a potent statement of purpose, unity, and empowerment. Your music will resonate today in sharp defiance of the forces of hatred that took our son's life, and will reinforce our unshaken conviction that at the end of the day, music will triumph and humanity will prevail. Our deepest appreciation goes to the NGO organizers who helped put together the We Have a Dream Global Summit Against Discrimination and Persecution for hosting the Daniel Pearl World Music Days event at your assembly. United, we will make a difference. Judea and Ruth Pearl, Los Angeles, California. Before we begin, I just want to show a video about the Daniel Pearl World Music Days.
Daniel Pearl Music Day event in October. Participate in Daniel Pearl Music Day, promoting harmony for humanity. Go to danielpearl.org or call 8779-MUSIC-9.
Before we begin, let me just remind everyone to turn on your phones when you exit the session. We're now honored to hear the prelude to Bach, Suite Number 3 in C major for cello solo, interpreted by Elad Kabilia.